Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt like the stars were whispering your name? He did. A barefoot boy, standing by a roadside stall, pouring hot tea into paper cups under a sky so full of dreams it almost mocked his reality. Every night, when the buses stopped and silence took over the dusty road, he'd lean back on an old wooden bench, stare at those glowing dots, and whisper softly, "One day, I'll touch them." His name was Aarav. 12 years old, no money, no fancy school, just a dream so wild it scared even him. By day, he served tea to drivers, passengers, and strangers who barely looked him in the eye. By night, he read scraps of old newspapers, the same ones that wrapped the samosas, because that's where he found stories about rockets, scientists, and galaxies far beyond his world. He didn't understand most of the words, but he understood one thing. Those stars weren't just for rich kids in big cities. They belonged to anyone brave enough to reach. One evening, a bus stopped. Out stepped a man in a crisp white shirt, a scientist from the city. Aarav noticed the NASA logo on his bag, like a message from heaven. As he served him tea, his hands trembled. "Sir, do stars really move?" he asked, curiosity glowing in his eyes. The man smiled, surprised. "They do. Everything in the universe is moving. Even you, boy." Aarav blinked. "Even me?" "Yes," the man said softly. "You're moving too. Maybe not yet through space, but definitely through life." Those words hit him harder than the cold wind that night. From that moment, Aarav made a promise. He would move, no matter how slow, no matter how hard. So he saved coins, every single rupee. He bought old science books from a junk shop, ones without covers, without titles. When customers laughed at his questions about rockets, he just smiled, because deep down, he knew every dream begins as a joke. Years passed. He grew taller, stronger, smarter, and hungrier for knowledge. But life doesn't like easy stories. When his father fell sick, Aarav had to quit school completely. The stall became his world again. Smoke, sugar, tea, and the endless honking of cars. The stars felt distant now, like friends who had forgotten his name. One night, in his lowest moment, he threw his books into the fire just to keep himself warm. And as the pages burned, tears rolled down his cheeks. "I was stupid to think I could ever touch them," he whispered. But then, something caught his eye. A single half-burnt page lifted from the fire, floating upward in the wind, glowing like a little comet. He watched it rise and vanish into the darkness. And in that moment, something inside him reignited. He realized dreams don't die in the fire. They're reborn from it. So he started again. He studied at night after work. He listened to radio lectures. He wrote letters to scientists. Most never replied, but one did. And that one letter changed everything. The scientist he had once served tea to, the same man who told him, "You're moving too," had remembered him. He invited Aarav to visit his research center in the city. When Aarav arrived, wearing his old shirt and borrowed shoes, people stared, but he didn't care. He looked around at the shining telescopes, the hum of machines, and thought, "This is where I was always meant to be." Years later, that boy, who once poured tea for travelers, stood under a sky no longer out of reach, not as a dreamer, but as an engineer, working on a satellite launch. He watched his creation rise into the night, cutting through the clouds, and whispered again, "I told you I'd touch the stars." And maybe, somewhere, the stars whispered back, "We knew you would." Dreams don't belong to privilege, they belong to persistence. It's not where you start. It's how far you're willing to keep moving even when no one believes you can. If the stars ever feel too far, remember, even the universe began from a single spark. Now, it's your turn to ignite. What is your dream? Tell us in the comments below. And to see more stories of courage and rise,